The storm rolled in without warning, black clouds swallowing the sky, thunder crawling over the hills like an angry beast. Tom Callahan, the silent rancher of Broken Mesa, was out fixing the east fence when he saw them first. A small boy and a woman running across the plains, their clothes torn, faces streaked with dust. The boy stumbled, got up again, and kept running. The woman, young, maybe in her late 20s, kept glancing behind her as if the devil himself followed. Tom's instincts didn't miss much, and this looked like trouble riding fast. He dropped his tools, mounted his horse, and rode hard. When he reached them, the boy froze like a scared fawn. "Please, mister," he cried, voice cracking through the wind. "If they come, please hide my mom." The woman clutched the boy's shoulder, panting, eyes wide with fear. Tom dismounted slowly, his deep-set gray eyes taking them in. Ragged, desperate, running from something real. "Who's coming?" he asked quietly. "Men," she whispered. "Bad ones, please. We just need a place to hide till morning." Tom studied them a moment, then nodded toward his cabin. "Come on." They ran behind him, tripping over roots as thunder cracked again. Inside the old log house, the fire was low, but warm. The woman held her son close, shivering. "Thank you," she murmured. "We'll be gone by sunrise." "You'll stay," Tom said simply. "No one's dying on my land tonight." He moved to the window, scanning their horizon. The boy, no more than 8, watched him with cautious curiosity. "You ain't scared of them?" he asked. Tom didn't turn. "I've seen worse." The boy swallowed. "They got guns. So do I." That was all he said. The woman's name was Sarah, and her boy was Eli. They'd been on the run since last week, chased by a man named Clyde Rohr, a bounty hunter who claimed Sarah owed a debt that wasn't hers. Her late husband had worked for Rohr, died under him, and left her nothing but grief and an empty ledger Rohr now called his own. "He said he owns me till it's paid," Sarah said bitterly, staring into the fire. Tom's jaw tightened. "You're not anyone's property." Eli looked up at him like he just met a hero. "You'll keep us safe." Tom met his gaze, slow and steady, over my dead body. The boy smiled for the first time since he'd arrived. Night deepened. Rain lashed the roof and the wind howled through the cracks. Tom stood guard by the window, rifle resting in his hands. Sarah tried to sleep, but every noise made her flinch. Eli lay beside her, clutching his mother's hand. "Mama," he whispered, "do you think God sent him?" She smoothed his hair. "Maybe he did." Tom heard that, though he pretended not to. He hadn't spoken to God in years, not since the day his wife and child were buried on the ridge. That night something stirred in him, something that had been silent for too long. Around midnight he caught sight of lanterns in the distance. 3 riders moving slow, hunting. He grabbed his hat and stepped outside. Sarah rose instantly. "What are you doing?" "Stopping them before they get close. You'll get killed." He gave a small shrug. "Maybe, but not you." She wanted to stop him, but there was something in his eyes. An old sorrow turned into steel. Outside, the rain had softened to a mist. Tom waited by the gate, rifle ready as the riders approached. "Evening?" the lead man called, voice oily and smug. "Name's Rohr. I'm looking for a woman and a kid. You seen him?" Tom didn't blink. "Don't see much out here but cattle." Rohr smirked. "Funny, someone said they ran this way." "Then they ran wrong," Tom said flatly. Roper's hand hovered over his gun. "You wouldn't lie to me, would you, old man?" Tom's eyes narrowed. "Son, I've buried better men for less." For a long moment, only the wind spoke. Then Rohr spat in the dirt and turned his horse. "We'll check the next ridge." The 3 men rode off into the dark. Tom stayed until their lights vanished, then went back inside. Sarah was crying quietly, relief and fear tangled together. "Thank you," she whispered. "You risked your life for strangers." Tom took off his hat and stared into the fire. "Ain't the first time." He poured himself a cup of coffee, his hands trembling slightly. Sarah saw it, saw the weight he carried. "You lost someone," she said softly. He didn't answer. A wife, still silence, and a child. His throat worked once. Both. Eli looked up at him with wide eyes. "Did God take him?" Tom's voice was barely a whisper. "No, son, men did." The rain stopped by dawn, but the danger hadn't passed. Tom knew Roar would circle back. Men like him always did. He hitched the horses, packed a few supplies, and told Sarah they were moving deeper into the hills. "There's a place I know, an old line shack. No one will find you there." Sarah hesitated. "You're coming too, till I know you're safe." She wanted to argue but didn't. He looked like a man who'd already made too many choices alone. As they rode out, the sun cut through the clouds, painting the land gold. For the first time in years, Tom felt something close to purpose. He didn't know what would happen next, but he knew one thing. If those men came again, they'd have to go through him first. The hills of Broken Mesa were quiet for 2 days. Too quiet. The wind blew dry grass across the ridges, and the air carried that uneasy calm that comes before a storm. Tom Callahan knew it well. He lived long enough to feel danger like a pulse beneath his boots. At the old line shack deep in the canyon, Sarah and Eli slept on bedrolls near the hearth, while Tom sat by the door, rifle across his knees. He hadn't slept in 40 hours, not since the night he lied to Clyde Roar's face. The kind of lie that bought time, but not safety. When morning came, the boy stirred first. "Mister," Eli's voice was groggy, "you think those bad men will find us?" Tom's tired eyes softened. "Not if I can help it." Eli nodded solemnly, as if he trusted that more than any prayer. Sarah brewed weak coffee on the fire and offered Tom a tin cup. Their fingers brushed, and for a moment something unspoken passed between them, a quiet gratitude, maybe more. "You didn't have to bring us here," she said. "You could have sent us off and spent the rest of my life wondering if you made it," he said simply. She smiled faintly. "You're not as silent as folks say." He chuckled once. "Guess you bring out the noise in people." They spent the day patching the roof, tending to the horses, and staying out of sight. But that evening, a hawk circled low over the ridge. Tom's gut twisted. It wasn't a hawk that made him uneasy. It was the trail of dust rising in the distance. Riders 3 again, maybe 4. Roar had found them. "Sarah," he said calmly, "get the boy inside and stay low. Whatever happens, you don't come out unless I call." Her face went pale. "Tom, you can't fight them alone." He checked the rifle chamber. "Ain't the first time I've been outnumbered." When the riders reached the clearing, Roar's voice cut through the air like a knife. "You got guts, old man, I'll give you that. But the game's over. Hand them over, and I might let you live." Tom stepped out, shotgun in one hand, eyes cold as the steel he held. "I told you before, you ain't taking nobody from me." Roar sneered. "You think she's worth dying for? She's just a detour's widow. The boy's nobody." Tom's jaw tightened. "That boy's got more honor in his pinky than you'll have in 10 lifetimes. Roper's smile faded. "Then die for them." The gunfire cracked the air. Tom dove behind a trough, returning fire with deadly precision. His first shot caught one of Roar's men in the shoulder, spinning him off his horse. The others scattered for cover. Bullets ripped through the cabin walls. Inside, Eli cried out. Sarah grabbed him, whispering, "Stay down, baby, stay down." Her heart pounded as wood splinters flew. Outside, Tom moved like a ghost, methodical, relentless. He'd fought in wars before, long ago, and the old instincts came back sharp as ever. But there were too many. A bullet grazed his arm. Another shattered the lantern near the door. Smoke curled up into the rafters. Roar called out, mocking, "You can't win, Callahan. You're one man." Tom's reply was a growl. "That's one more than you'll ever be." He waited for the pause between reloads, then broke from cover, firing twice. One man dropped. The second horse reared and bolted. Roar cursed and ducked behind a boulder. "You're dead, old man, you hear me? Dead!" Then a sudden cry. Eli had slipped out the back trying to reach Tom. The boy's small figure darted through the smoke. "Eli!" Sarah screamed. "Get back!" Roar saw him first, grinning wickedly. "Well, look what we got here." He raised his gun, but Tom was faster. The rifle thundered. Roar's hat flew off and he stumbled back, cursing. "You shot me." "You point a gun at a child," Tom said coldly. "You stop being a man." The last two shots came quick. Roper's missed. Tom's didn't. When the echo faded, only the wind remained. Sarah ran out, grabbing Eli, sobbing. Tom leaned against a fence post, bleeding from his side, breathing hard. "You're hit," Sarah cried, tearing a strip from her shawl. "It's nothing," he said weakly. "They're gone." But when he tried to stand, his knees buckled. She caught him as he fell. "Don't you dare," she whispered fiercely, pressing her hand to the wound. "Don't you leave me, Tom." His voice was faint. "Guess I got used to fighting for something that mattered." They dragged him inside. Hours passed in a haze of pain and silence. Eli sat by. Eli knelt beside him, gripping Tom's rough, calloused hand. "You saved us, mister," the boy whispered. "You saved my mama." Tom forced his eyes open, the faintest smile touching his lips. "No," he murmured, "you two saved me first." A few days later, the town sheriff arrived after hearing reports of gunfire. Roar and his men were discovered buried near the edge of the mesa, the wind already beginning to wipe away their tracks. The sheriff knew Tom's reputation well enough not to press for details. "Looks like justice handled itself," he said quietly. Tom gave a slow nod. "Reckon it did." As summer faded into fall, the ranch began to feel different. Sarah stayed on to help while Tom recovered, and Eli rarely left his side, learning to repair fences, tend horses, and steady a rifle. The boy had found a father, and Tom had found a reason to keep going. One evening, with the sun bleeding red behind the ridge, Sarah handed him a cup of coffee. "You could have let us leave," she said softly. "You didn't have to risk everything." Tom stared toward the horizon, voice low and steady. "After I lost my family, I thought there wasn't much left worth fighting for. Then you and that boy showed up and proved me wrong." Her eyes filled with tears. "You gave us our lives back." He turned to her, something gentle in his gaze. "No, you gave me mine." Years later, folks in town would tell the story of the quiet rancher who stood alone against 3 armed men to protect a woman and her child he didn't even know. They'd say he was built from stone and dust, a man carved from grit. But the ones who visited the ranch understood the truth. They saw the wildflowers Sarah planted along the porch. They saw Eli grow tall and strong. They heard laughter drifting through the valley. And they knew that sometimes the toughest men carry the softest hearts. Tom Callahan rarely spoke of that night. When Eli asked years later if he'd been afraid, Tom only smiled. "Son," he said, "fear just means what you're protecting matters." And whenever the wind swept across Broken Mesa, carrying the scent of sage and rain, Sarah would close her eyes, remembering the night a stranger became their salvation. A man who had once lost everything and found redemption in the desperate voice of a little boy who whispered, "Mister, if they come, please hide my mama." Because some promises are spoken, and some are sealed with blood, love, and courage strong enough to survive any storm.